"I can read your mind," said the girl. The judge laughed, until she revealed his darkest secret. The courtroom buzzed with whispers as the bailiff called the final case of the day. Judge Harold Whitmore, a stern man in his 60s known for his no-nonsense attitude, adjusted his robe and looked up as a young girl stepped timidly into the room. She couldn't have been older than 12. Her shoes were worn, her dress a little too thin for the fall weather. Yet her eyes, deep brown and unnervingly calm, held the entire courtroom in a quiet suspense. She walked with poise, clutching a faded notebook. A social worker followed close behind her, clearly unsure why this hearing had drawn so much attention. Judge Whitmore glanced at the file. Her name was Lila Monroe. A ward of the state. No known parents. She had requested a personal appearance before the court. Unusual. He adjusted his glasses. "What brings you here, young lady?" Judge Whitmore asked, voice echoing in the silent courtroom. "I want to speak to you," Lila said, her voice soft but clear. "I want to show you something, and tell you something." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Do you understand where you are? This is a courtroom, not a stage for stories." "I know," she said. "But I also know things I shouldn't know. And I believe this is the right place to say them." The audience murmured. The judge sighed. "Very well. But be brief." Lila opened her notebook, revealing sketches, beautiful, haunting images of people and places. But that wasn't what caught the judge's attention. It was the date on the top right corner of each page. They were all from weeks ago, yet one sketch perfectly resembled a man who had just been convicted of theft in Whitmore's court that morning. "I draw what I see, in people's minds," she said softly. The judge chuckled. "You claim you can read minds?" "I can feel them," she corrected gently. "And sometimes I see memories. Especially when the heart has been carrying them too long." "And what, pray tell, do you see in mine?" he asked sarcastically. There was a long pause. Lila looked up from her notebook, directly into his eyes. "I see a little boy," she began. "Standing outside a house with a broken front door. He's crying, holding a baby in his arms. The baby's not breathing." The room went completely silent. "I see a man running out, your father. He leaves. He never comes back." Judge Whitmore's face went pale. No one knew that story. Not his colleagues, not his staff. Not even his wife. It was buried deep, a secret so painful he tried to forget it ever happened. "I see that boy again," Lila continued, her voice trembling now. "He grows up angry. He works hard. He hides his pain behind books and laws. But he never forgets how it felt to lose everything and have no one believe in him." The judge sat back, stunned. The courtroom no longer buzzed. It breathed in one long, stunned inhale. "Why are you telling me this?" he whispered. "Because I know what it feels like too," Lila said. "To feel invisible. To scream in silence. I don't know who my parents are. I've been in 9 foster homes. I've been hurt, and forgotten. But I still see kindness. Even in people who try to hide it." The judge blinked rapidly, his heart pounding in a way it hadn't in years. "I came here," Lila said, "not to accuse you or scare you. I came to remind you of who you are." She pulled out one last drawing. It was of a man kneeling beside a little girl, offering her a coat. The man looked remarkably like Judge Whitmore. "You were kind once," she whispered. "You just forgot." The judge took the picture in his trembling hands. His mind flashed to a winter long ago, when he'd seen a child alone in a park and had given her his scarf. He never told anyone. He didn't even remember the child's face. But here it was, drawn perfectly, etched from his buried memory. Tears filled his eyes. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to help me," help others like me, Lila said, her voice steady now. Create a space in the system where kids like me aren't just files. Where someone listens, truly listens. He swallowed hard. You want me to change the system? No, she said with a small smile. I want you to remember why you became part of it. The silence in the room felt sacred. That evening, Judge Whitmore didn't go straight home. He drove to the edge of the city, to an old shelter he hadn't visited in years. It was the place where he'd first volunteered during law school, back when he still believed he could change the world. The director recognized him and welcomed him inside. For the first time in decades, he sat with children, played chess, handed out snacks, and listened. Really listened. And the next day, he made a call. Then another. Within weeks, he had proposed a new youth advocacy initiative, offering every foster child in the city a trained adult advocate and access to creative outlets like art and music therapy. He personally funded the pilot program. When asked what inspired him, he simply said, "A little girl who reminded me who I am." Lila became the first youth voice on the board. Her sketches were used in campaigns. She even held art classes for other kids in the system. Years later, when she stood on a stage accepting a national award for youth leadership, she told the story of a courtroom and a judge who laughed when she said she could read minds. "I don't really read minds," she told the audience. "I read hearts. And when you listen hard enough, every heart has a story worth hearing." The crowd rose in a standing ovation. Back in the audience, Judge Whitmore stood too, proud and misty-eyed. No longer just a man behind a bench, but a man reborn by the kindness of a child who dared to be heard. Moral: when we pause to see the humanity in others, especially the unheard, we rediscover our own. Compassion is not weakness, it's power in its purest form.